What's up, everybody? Tin Man Plan here. I have an '06 Chevy Trailblazer. The automatic braking system keeps going off when I go about 3 miles an hour, backing out of the driveway especially, and it actually is preventing me from stopping because it keeps chipping at the brakes. It doesn't help. So it's actually doing me an injustice. I'm going to show you how to look at the sensor, make sure the sensor isn't bad, and then what to go do from there. So if you want to replace the sensor or if you have to replace the hub, right now I'm just going to clean it off. I did that on the other side. I'm going to show you how to do it on this side. Ready? Let's go. First thing to do is jack the truck up and use the jack stand, unless you don't give a shit about your life, right? I'm going to take this cap off. Hopefully that's the hardest part. Lug nuts. Wheel. Now a little tip, every single time I take the rotor off or whatever, I'm going to be in this area in general, I'm going to use synthetic caliper brake grease and quiet just so that nothing squeaks, because why not? If you're already in there, you might as well do it. And plus, sometimes, most of the time, you're going to have to open up the pistons just to put the caliper back on the rotor. So it's just easiest to take everything off. So I'm going to do the two first bolts for the piston caliper bracket here, and all that stuff. I'm going to take these off. There's 2 bolts up on top, and then 2 bolts for the bracket itself. So take those 2 or 4 bolts off. In this particular case, we have 18 and 13 millimeter. Since sometimes it's tight to take off just the top, the piston, that usually just means everything needs to be greased anyways. And since we're taking the ABS sensor, which is behind this hub, which is behind the rotor, we have to take everything off anyways. So I took off the 2 bolts, I'm gonna take off the other 2 and then take it off as one, and it will separate. One important thing that I like to do is to support. So this is real tight. That means that the piston and or pads are not sliding as they should, which is another reason why I'm going to grease them up. You always want to tie up the part that has the hose here. So I'm going to take these apart, put this down here, and tie this up so it doesn't break the hose if it falls. I tie it through the top loop there, and then around the controller. Tie that up. Then you take off the rotor, and I will show you where the sensor is. It is right here. So if you pull off the rotor, it's right here, this sensor. So you're gonna need an Allen to pull this sensor out. I'll show you guys in just a minute. All right, I got a little Allen wrench, and then I have a leverage bar that came with a little socket kit, or the Allen kit. So I'm just going to loosen this. Once I loosen the Allen bolt, what I'm going to do is take a flathead and start to pry this little piece out here. Underneath it, I'm going to pry it off. Alright, so this sensor here, it's just a little tab with a little metal piece at the end. And then on the inside where this little metal piece reads, I'll show you. But basically this sensor here, one sec. This little metal piece senses in here the hub spinning. And you see that in there? The little tabs. If it misses one, or it's like skidding or something, that's when it knows to turn on that braking system. So either the sensor is faulty, and it's really easy to change out. You just take this off like this. This goes behind here all the way up to this connector right here. So you'll basically just get a plug-in like that, wrap it up again, down, and then plug it back in. But what I'm going to do, just to make sure that the sensor isn't faulty, and what I did with the other side, is, first of all, you could test it with the voltmeter. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to blow some compressed air into here onto those and make sure they're clean. This looks pretty clean. The other side was actually really dirty. So I hope that's what the case was, and that I don't have to buy a new sensor. Cheaper route would just be buy a sensor. The second route would be a hub. So what that means is you'd take this off, and then you just replace the hub, because the hub has those nubs on it, and at some point that's where the miscommunication is, either this sensor or the hub, where it's not reading those right and it's throwing that to break for you. So one of these two things are the problem. Like I said, I'm going to spin that while I blow air in there, and hopefully clean those off a little bit and see what happens.